Good evening. Hello. I totally forgot to remind you and me that I was doing tonight's Brew and a Blether. So I don't know if anybody is going to join me, but if not, I shall just carry on regardless. But I hope you're all well. It really is coming up for spring now. It's wonderful. One of the reasons I didn't actually, give you a reminder or post a reminder to say that I was going to be on it at 8 o'clock UK time. I was out for a lovely walk. It was super. It was like over a 6-mile round trip and it was lovely. And I walked to the post office, dropped off some parcels, walked into town, had a coffee, walked back out. It was lovely. It was super. So I hope you're all well. And tonight is Shrove Tuesday. So I thought I really had to do something to celebrate Shrove Tuesday. I have in the past, many, many years ago now, made a mouse tossing a pancake in a frying pan. That's actually quite tricky to do because it's a big frying pan, heavy for the mouse. So today I thought I would make a little stack of pancakes with an otter who would be tucking into it. So I'm kind of starting from scratch. I mean, it is all a bit kind of ad hoc, as things tend to be with me, as you know. So I'll do my best. I'll just crack on. I haven't made pancakes before, so I should probably give them a go. I just had a quick look at a tutorial on YouTube with a Russian girl who was wonderful. She did it brilliantly. Couldn't understand a word she was saying because obviously she was speaking in Russian, but I could pretty much follow her directions anyway. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, I had a pretty good idea, and I've been using pastels a lot recently, which give a lovely finish actually to polymer clay. It kind of breaks up the underlying colour. And just makes it much more naturalistic, I suppose. I made a bunny with it was a Netherland dwarf lop-eared seal point bunny. I believe that's the kind it was. One of these ones which is sort of pale, brown with black nose and ears and paws, etc. Anyway, so what I'm doing, apparently she recommended using flesh-coloured clay for the actual pancakes themselves, and I'm going to be putting them on this really, really sweet. I've had this for years. Periodically I pick up doll's house miniatures from usually from eBay, and then I'm like, I know that's going to come in handy one of these days. And of course today is the day where this is going to be a little stack of pancakes, and I'm going to have a little otter who is eager to tuck into it. So we shall see. So let's I'm giving it a bit of a condition to begin with. I now need to roll it out till it's about 1 millimetre thick. So we'll see what that comes into. Is that about 1 millimetre? Let's see, that's about 2, so it just needs to be a little bit thinner. Just one more, I think. Yeah, that'll do. I mean, it's pink. This is what I make my piglings out of. So it's very strange that I'm going to do it. Now to find the right size of cutter. Oh, sorry about the noise. Needs to be something that's going to fit onto the thing. What do you call this thing anyway? It's like a cake stand, isn't it? So I think that's probably pretty good. Right, I shall use that one. How many pancakes will I have? Good question. Probably quite a few, but it depends whether, it may be that I just make a few of them here because I'll need to bake them and that'll take time, and we've only got half an hour tonight, so we shall see how it goes. But yes, pancakes are you all having pancakes? We're not actually having pancakes tonight, and I always feel really sorry for those people who can't take, wheat. My mum's gluten-free, gluten intolerant, I should say, eats gluten-free food. So, but I know that there's plenty of alternatives, which is good things anyway. It's good just now. Right. Am I actually talking to myself? It's entirely possible. But yes, I my fault entirely for forgetting to post a reminder in the group chat. So apologies. I know I've not been in the group very much recently, but I do keep an eye on what you're all posting, and it's lovely to see all the memes and the pictures, and I love to see the wee creatures settling in their new homes. That always makes me happy. And you can probably tell my voice is completely back to normal, which is great. It's a relief, it must be said. It's a definite relief. I was singing, I have managed to keep singing throughout, so it couldn't have been that bad. But it's not even sort of tickly or I'm just a lot better now. So this is good. Right, so all I'm doing is because it's got a little lip, it leaves a sort of a slight edge round so I'm just smoothing that out. That's what I'm faffing around with now. So how many have I got? 8. Right, let's do one and see how it goes. Getting rid of any flob as I go. Yeah, so the idea will be I will stack these up like that, and then yeah, that should be okay. And I'll probably bake them in that dish. Probably glue them to the bottom and bake them, rather than trying to do anything with it tonight. But I can at least have a go and make the first one. So right, let's see. So the pancakes have little air bubbles in them as they're cooking. So the way that she recommends that we do that is, I'll post a link to this, to the tutorial tomorrow or once I finish. And then you can follow it yourself. It's really, I mean, she's done a super job. And if anybody can speak Russian, great, wonderful. You can all tell me what it's like. So I am just marking, I don't know what you call this, a little brush, a little test tube cleaner or something. But I find it very useful actually for just marking creatures if I need to. For example, I made a squirrel recently, and I see that Angela is on the video, so on the chat I should say. I shall start speaking properly. So yes, I use this to create the texture on the squirrel's tail. It's a very good tool. You've just got to remember to sort of blend it out so it's not, the holes aren't so obvious. Right, so I'm going to be doing this for all of them, but probably not tonight. You'll be glad to know. Now, I also have, this is for using the pastel, so I'll move that to one side. So I'm trying to keep it sort of in one place. So I need to have a little bit of brown pastel. So what I'm doing, hopefully you can see this, is just scraping a little bit off with my scalpel. A little bit of brown, but it will be mostly yellow and a touch of orange as well. Now, I mean, it is messy stuff. You can see that a little goes a long way. I've had these pastels for forever. I think I got them in fact, I've probably had them for at least 20 years or so, but they do last quite a long time. A little goes a long way. And they're, as I say, they just create a really lovely finish for things like, well, what I'm doing. A little bit of orange, which will kind of counterbalance the yellow there too. So yes, it's just colour mixing basically. And yeah, seeing how it comes. Now I need a little brush. So this is the brush that I use for all my pastel exploits. So the idea is just to sort of lightly dab a bit, mix a bit in, mix a bit of brown. There we go. And then lightly brush onto the pancake is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, I was speaking to my dad today and saying that I cannot multitask. I kind of like to think I can, but I really can't, basically. So this actually gives, the flesh colour is quite a good base to have because it's translucent based. So any of the other colours would be too strong, whereas this it really does provide a very good base for pastels going on. And the good thing about pastels is that they'll stay in place after baking, which is pretty good. I'm going to use a slightly darker one just to go around the edges because I like my pancakes with a bit of extra colour on them. You see, it's starting to... I really like this. This is working out pretty well. So, yeah, okay. And I'm making sure that I go around the edges as well. Look at what a difference that makes. That's really quite something. The next thing is using a Q-tip or a cotton bud, depending on where you are, and just wiping a little bit of the edges, because you know how pancakes have got sort of clear edges around the side. I might need to do this with a, soaked in surgical spirit or something, but that's not bad. Excellent. Just blend that in. Good stuff. Oh, I'm impressed. I really like this. Right, so there's one. I'm obviously not going to do the bottom of it because what's the point? But that is the first little pancake, which will go, it'll sit, well, I probably won't sit it in there. I'll wait until I've got a stack of them and then put them in. So that's the idea. It would be a bit of a boring video if I just made 8 little pancakes for the whole of, of the video. So I'll do the otter now. And I have cut the clay to measure. I need to blend otter fur. There isn't a brown, which is just exactly what I want. Now I'll carefully move this and I'll try not to sneeze so it doesn't go everywhere. Move the Fimo Soft to one side and move these pancakes ready to be prepared. And what I'll do once I've finished making all the pancakes like that, I will I'll then stack them slightly off to one side, slightly off kilter, and then add some liquid clay, tint it with some ochre pastel, and mix it up, add a little bit of surgical spirits to thin it down a little bit, and then I can drizzle some honey or maple syrup over the top, and that will just be very yummy. And obviously I'll have to put a few strawberries on top, but I'll get that sorted out later. Right, so they're the pancakes to be done in a minute. Now, this is the start of my otter. So I take the Fimo Professional Nougat, Noisette, I'm not sure exactly, but it's the brown doll art clay anyway. And I have worked out that the perfect recipe, the perfect colour mix to get the perfect otter colour is 9 grams of clay to 1 gram of 9 grams of brown to 1 gram of black. And because if I just made 10 grams, which is how much I use for an otter, I still need the paws, I still need the ears, so I am doing 13.5 grams of brown to 1.5 grams of clay. I really thought I'd kind of left maths behind, or at least arithmetic, but obviously not. Anyway, so now I'm just blending the otter colour, which takes a little bit of time, but I wanted you to see the whole process, because anytime I make otters, this is what I have to do basically. Because I think the normal brown as it is very good for hedgehogs, for example. I use it as it is for the brown mice. I use it for young otters, for example. If anytime I've made baby otters, then I'll just use the paler, the brown as it is. But because otters have quite dark pelts, then I needed to make to mix up a clay that was a little bit darker and a little bit more otter-like anyway. So, I don't know, have I made an otter during one of these? I can't remember. I've made quite a few creatures, I know, but I can't remember if I've done otters. I know I did a couple of video shorts, like these stop motion films with the otters when I was doing the pumpkin otters. They were funny. I enjoyed them. That was back in the last studio, which was 3 years ago now, over 3 years since I've been in this wonderful new place, which isn't so new anymore. Can you believe it's been 3 years? It's like, where does the time go? I know that's a refrain of mine, but it's quite incredible how quickly things go. So now I'm not sure whether there have been any comments. If you haven't, or if you have commented and I haven't spotted it, apologies. I've got my phone sort of extended over me or over my hands, over my work surface, so it's quite hard for me to see. And I don't even know still if anybody's joining me. As I say, entirely my fault for not actually telling anybody that I was going to be doing it. Apologies. Just getting rid of a few bubbles. Yes, I haven't made many otters at all recently, so I think this is why they needed, I think they were sort of going, oi, our turn, you better make some otters. So, and of course, Melissa Mouser has been posting some fantastic pictures of otters. They're just so full of character. Absolutely love them. Right, that's it, well blended. So I'm folding it and being as careful as I can to squeeze out any air bubbles. Now I need to cut or weigh out, I should say, these are my dealer scales, by the way. It's great. I mean, I'm not, it can only weigh up to 200 grams and it weighs up to, you know, like to 2 decimal points. I don't know whether you can see that or not, but this is how I weigh them all out. And they are literally to the, you know, the 100th of a gram. I am that pernickety, I think is a good word for me. There you go. Oh no, yep, 10, that's good. So that's exactly 10 grams for the otter, and that will be for the paws. So that's why I wanted to have a little bit of excess. And each time, you know, if I had any leftover otter clay, then I would mix it all in together so that it would even out and there weren't any differences in the colour. But they should all be fine because I'm using exactly the same proportions every time that I am that I make otter fur, or otter clay, I should say. So the other thing, oh, just to show you the difference actually in the colours, you see what that very, you know, 1.5 gram of black clay does make a big difference. It sort of just tones it down, brings it down a little bit, and that is very much my otter colour now. So, and I was thinking as well actually, because this otter may well be wearing a chef's hat, and if he's wearing a chef's hat, it does help for them not to have ears, or at least no prominent ears to get in the way. So that was another reason for doing the otter. And I think I'll have him standing up because I think he can be standing over the tower of pancakes, holding a spoon and just getting ready to dig in. I really like this idea. It just makes me laugh. And I thought there really should be something that I do to celebrate Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Day. And tomorrow is the first day of Lent. Now, I'm not, as you know, I'm not religious, or if you need to know, I am not religious, but I do sing in 2 churches, and so I'm aware of the church calendar, and I'm singing in the Ash Wednesday service tomorrow, and I'm singing in Maundy Thursday and Easter and Good Friday and Easter, you know, so I kind of know the churches, their calendar. So, and I was exploring a little bit. I was looking up on Wikipedia what the meaning of Shrove Tuesday was, and it's because it's the last day before Lent. When Lent, you're supposed to sort of give up things, you know, that you've heard of, I'm sure, giving up chocolate for Lent and all the rest of it. So you are shriven of anything which could be deemed decadent, I think, you know, during Lent. So that's why pancakes were the thing. Because it used up eggs and sugar and butter and things which would be deemed a bit of a luxury, I suppose. Yes, I think that would be the way to say it. So yeah, fascinating things that I never knew. So Pancake Day has its roots in Christian faith, Catholics in particular, but I think, well, the Anglicans obviously observe it too. No idea about anything else in the world. But it really is quite fascinating. So this is me, just the tail is always integral, but the paws get added on. And I'm just shaping the haunches a little bit because he's going to be standing up, obviously, and sort of peering over. You can imagine him peering into the big pancake stash. I'm looking forward to cooking these, actually. I think it's going to look rather fun. So I just need to he's going to have chops, as in cheeks, separate cheeks and a mouth, just like the bunnies. That's how I make them. But the thing with that is I've got to make sure that the nose is pretty flat because he's going to have chops stuck on top. And that can actually be quite hard to do because I'm kind of trying to form the back of the head and not have a front of the head, if that makes sense. Anyway, right, let's do his haunches then. So that's just marking out where his legs would go when he's kind of sitting upright. And I just use one of my, I don't know, I mean, this is a pottery tool, I think, and I use it for so many things. I use it for bum clefts. You know how my like polar bears and guinea pigs and whatnot have little bum clefts, well, and moles as well. That's what I use it with. Not in any painful way, don't worry, but I just, it makes me laugh. It just works very well. So creatures without tails, basically, or without much of a tail, will get a bum cleft, and it's made with this tool. Just that's the motion. It's not a jabby, sticky anything. So fret ye not on that score. Right. So that's pretty much his haunches, but then I want to bring them in, shape them a little bit so that he's got a bit of a tummy down there too. There we go. Yep. And that will form the base for his paws as well. So now I shall roll out the clay to cut out his paws, and then I'll use this, it's called Sahara, it's another Fimo clay, and I'll use, oh sorry my dear, didn't mean for you to fall over, and I will now just roll out, excuse me while I'm gone, on the thickest setting of the pasta machine. I will now cut out the circles for his paws, which are, this is the same cutter that I use for mouse ears and bunny paws. It's a very versatile cutter. These cutters have been with me from the very, very beginning, and I'm not quite sure what I would do if I ever lost them. Occasionally they go for a dive on the floor, which is not fun to, because I'm sort of scrabbling about with lights on, and thankfully it's never come to anything too horribly scary, so I'm glad to report. All right, just giving him his eye sockets here, and he's already starting to, oh yeah, so I'm having him bending forward so that he can be looking in towards the pancakes. I can see them, they're already, oh, am I too far up? Sorry, I didn't check the position. Is that better, where you can see everything there? Right, now I'm going to add on his chops and his, the otters have got a white or a paler fur colour along their cheeks and underneath their chin. So I shall do that as well. So I shall first of all, this is going to be one I'll have to finish tomorrow, I'm afraid, with making all those pancakes. I will stay on tonight and I'll be baking pancakes, but not for me, just for the creatures. Right, this is just to cut out the chops, and I shall shape these into kind of almost like a rounded raindrop kind of shape. Because you know how they have wonderfully expressive cheeks. And same again for this one. This is his other side of chops. And then they kind of meet in the middle at, I don't know what angle that is. I'm sure somebody could measure it. I'm sure I could measure it. And then I need to do his chin. So I will roll out a thinner, roll it out again, and then cut a bit off at an angle, and that means that it will lie flat against the face. And I usually use this cutter, which is just a little bit smaller than the other one. And this is my mouse ear for tiny mice, for the mice that I make out with 3 grams of clay and whatnot. So that's probably just a little bit too big, so I shall just trim off another bit and use this to place in shape. There we go. And it creates quite a good, it's a nice, and I can't explain, but it feels the right angle. The cheeks are sort of pointing backwards towards where the nose is going to go. And the nose is just like, I have so much. I must show you actually, maybe I'll do this now. This might look all neat and clean. Have a look at that, right? That's where I have all my, I just keep it out of camera's view. So I never like putting clay away because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. So I like having it there so that I can use it if I need to, or if I'm inspired, or if I want to try something. Occasionally I'll have binges and get rid of it all and just put it into the scrap clay bundle. But that hasn't happened today, nor for a week or two. That's why there's so much. This is the debris from the Remembrance Poppies bunny. No, Remembrance Poppies creatures, not just bunnies, of course. My word. Right. Okay, I've just let you into one of my dirty secrets. Yes. So don't tell anybody, or else I'll be very embarrassed. Because it's not neat at all. Right, I'm now rolling out the pale clay for his chin and his cheeks. So that's going through on the thinnest part of the pasta machine, and I'm just lightly pulling it a little bit. Not much for this, because I want to do the pulling once I've actually cut out the shape for the cheeks and for his chest, basically. So diamond shape, I will be losing half of this. I could probably do it with a triangle, but for some reason this works well. So I like doing this. This is where you tease out each side, because I want the clay as thin as possible without breaking. So it's amazing how big you can make it just by lightly pulling and teasing and stretching without being too rough with it, because it will tear. And of course, the thinner I make it, the more likely it is that it could. And I want to make sure that each side is as even as possible. It doesn't have to be exact, but it needs to be in the ballpark anyway. And a slight upwards tilt to them, because that's going to go around their cheeks, round his cheeks. Right, so that's gone from, that was his footprint, to this thing which looks a bit like a manta ray, but anyway. So, and then I will cut away the top part, but give it a sort of a slight arch. So it's not dead straight across, although I know it kind of looks like it is, really. And then lift this up. It's very, very thin now. And then it needs to go on. So placing it so that it goes around the cheeks and then down onto the chest. You know what I mean. And again, I've got to be very careful that there are no air bubbles here, because they're not good. I think you know me and air bubbles by now. So there was a bit of red flob there. So just getting rid of the red flob. And I know, I mean, it really doesn't look like an otter yet, but I mean, the magic happens, and that's maybe where I'll have to stop, because I see it's coming up for 8:30 now. But yes, it's lovely to see it when, particularly when their eyes go in. And then they really do start to look, they're coming to life then. So what I'll do now is to find the placement of the ears, is just to set the chops on. I'm not actually doing anything with the chops just now. And then I'm going to position where the eyes are. Just mark them with a little indentation. And again, I'm trying to keep this as flat as possible, because the chops, if the underlying shape of the face sticks out too much, the chops will stick out again, and it won't look like a proper otter, basically. Right, let's get some eyes. That favourite time when I'm prattling around trying to find exactly the right shape of eyes or the right measurements. So I don't know whether, hopefully my hair isn't in the way here. I'm bending down, peering over my glasses so that I can see. No. I don't know whether you can see that there's a bit of a difference there, yeah, I think. See if that adds one in. I'm sure I've said this before, but I always feel like a very small version of a Wimbledon player when they're trying to select the right ball. You know, they'll play with 2 or 3 and then select one and discard the rest. That's kind of what I'm doing here. And it is a bit weird to do it at a remove. I'm normally like, you know, a nose length away from it. Right, I've got my eyes. Yes, little otter, you're going to be able to see soon. Right, so I'm just going to position them very carefully, making sure that I don't touch the side of the clay with the points of the needle nose pliers, which is very easy to do. And then they're just set there. And I can see from above, actually, you can see my angle here, because what I'm trying to do is make sure that there's nothing sticking out which shouldn't be sticking out, apart from the eyes at the moment. But the eyes are about to have a miraculous transformation. They are very good. Right, ball shaper again. This just makes sure that there's no sharp bits going into the actual clay itself. And it helps form the eye socket and makes the eyes just come to life. I mean, they're just, it works so well. And then a little dab of liquid clay for the chops. Not so bothered about using the medium extender. That's really good for putting paws on, but the chops are never going to sort of be touching anything, hopefully. Well, that's the idea anyway. It is just going to be a... See, look, he's an otter. It's like, wow, it's magic. Ah, but I have an air bubble. There's the air bubble. Oops. And I need to be very careful with it because it's so thin. Of course, if you take away too much, then it shows through the clay underneath. And sometimes you need to patch it. So there we go. That's his chops are there, and he needs to be bending over. So I'll work with it on his posture. What's his point? Is it posture? Posture. Oh my goodness, I'm losing track. So I'll give him his paws just now, and then give him his feet just now, and then give him his paws. I'll give him his wooden spoon to play. Let's see, what time is it? It's 25 to 9. Do you want me to go on? I'm not sure how many of you are here. Again, I'm sorry, I can't really see what's going on. I often think that I'm just wittering away to myself, but then, plus ça change. Kind of do that quite a lot these days. So yes, I'm making otter bottom paws, feet paws, I don't know what, the hind paws I suppose they'd be called. So they do stick out a fair bit because obviously they've got lots of swimming to do. So unlike the bunnies, you would think bunnies have really big paws, but when they're standing, they're not so prominent. Right, this is the medium extender again. and just scoring this as well, which will help the join, help the bond, because the paws will have more stress on them than anything else. So that's why the medium extender is very good for that. And then it's just pressing it into place. And I'll shape it up into more of a square. Can't be too far out because, again, it's got to make anatomical sense, even though it's a cute little polymer clay creature. But they still have movement and they still have internal consistency. They still have to make sense, you know. And that needs to just go in a little bit more and come out a little bit because he's going to be bending forward and being very eager to sample these delicious pancakes when I get them baked properly. 4 little toes and 4 little toes. There we go. It doesn't need to be squeezed in much, but that's just kind of show there. Oh, I don't know if you can see that okay. And right, okay, yeah, he's coming along, and then I will give him, he needs his tongue out, doesn't he? He's going to be salivating over over what's here. In fact, I need to put the first pancake in the dish so he really can salivate over. Oh, it does make me laugh. Oh, and I've got the I may have to make his chef hat tomorrow anyway, but let's give him a tongue. I still have my big collection of pink bits. That's it over there. Which is all very odd. But anyway, so that is just when I need to dip in and get a tongue or a paw or a tail or something. I can just fish it out from that little pile. And my hands are a bit brown from all the clay. So give it a quick wipe. And I probably will make it. I've seen a lot of artists, polymer clay workers, who use gloves, but I don't think I could. I don't think I'd want to, actually. I think that would just kind of interferes, gets in the way. But if it works for people, great, that's wonderful. You know, I like the idea of it, and it would certainly make my life a little bit easier and maybe not cleaning up quite so much flob all the time. As you know, I'm not a big flob fan. Right, this is to give him his tongue. So I'm just creating a little mouth for him where the tongue will go. And I mean, all of a sudden, just one little hole, just kind of, wow. Polymer clay, it just amazes me what you can do with it. It's just wonderful. So, there you go. Now he looks as though he's just sticking his tongue out. So I think he needs to have his tongue licking his chops, actually. Chops are a brilliant word. Did I see a comment from Dawn before it whisked off the bottom of my screen? Sorry, again. So, yes. So he needs to have tongue out and then slightly pointing up. So, oh, actually I need a thinner needle for that, just to give him his tongue groove. And because tongues, they kind of go out forward and then they curl up at the end, so that's what the otter will have. There we go. And maybe off to one side. Hey. So yes, there he is, he's licking his chops. Oh, he does make me smile. Right, okay, and then, oh, he hasn't had his ears yet. But he won't need his ears. I can't give him his ears until he's got his hat. So I'll just have to give him a spoon first, which will be easy enough to do. Now, what's he going to be used? If you're right-handed, all my creatures kind of have a bit of a bias, probably because I'm right-handed, so that's just where where they look. For example, all my sleeping creatures, they always end up lying on their, which side? I can't work it out. I find it very difficult to sort of say which side is left and which side is right. When I'm looking down on a sleeping creature, it's facing off to the left. So that means that it's lying on its right side, and that's actually how I sleep. So maybe that's why I do it. Anyway, I am just giving him a little hand hold for the spoon, and then I shall add some medium extender for the shoulder joint and some glue. That's what I'm looking for. My plain white PVA glue, the high tack, all-purpose, very sticky glue, which I use pretty much for everything like this. If I'm gluing on like fur trim and things like that, then I'll use the clear, like Yoo-hoo glue. Try saying that when you're knackered. Right, so I'm just getting a tiny bit dipped out at the end of a end of a cocktail stick, which has obviously been used many times for that reason. It is actually quite I suppose quite an environmentally sound thing, because I do reuse everything. as you can tell from that ridiculous pile of clay that I have sitting at the top of my my workbench. Right, so I'm just wanting to make sure that's well gripped in its paws, and before I put it on, I'm going to mark his fingers, and that also helps embed the clay. It helps embed the spoon into the clay, is what I was trying to say, and it didn't really work. This is just a doll's house wooden spoon, by the way. I found them and I thought they're just a brilliant size. I've done them with porridge pots and things for the wee creatures. Right, so he's going to hold it like that, and actually what will give it more stability is if I just put a dab of glue at the bottom of the spoon, and then it can lean against his body as well. The more points of contact you have, the better, really. Because so much of what I have to think about is the engineering of it as well. How things are going to stay together. Are they going to stay together? Are they going to survive shipping? You know, the things I have to think about. Right. There we go. Right, so wee otter, one paw, no ears, one arm. He's getting there. I'm just looking for the glue lid. So I'll get the other one, the other paw now. And I'm not quite sure what he needs to be doing with that. I think maybe, so he needs to be bending down a little bit more towards it. So he really is about to get stuck in to it. So he may need to reach out this paw for a bit of stability. Right. I wonder, will he actually reach the edge? I could do. In fact, what I could do, this is how I work. I'll see what works, what doesn't, what could work better. What I'll probably end up doing with this is have the this little dish. I'll have it glued to the otter so it becomes part of a whole, and then he can be holding on to the edge of that. That creates another point of contact. And it's a more integral piece, basically. That's my thinking at the moment. So I'll leave it there, and I'll finish him off. Probably, if I can finish him off tonight, I will. And I'll post a picture as usual in the morning, and do a little speeded up video where I'm not blethering on, if you want to see him actually made. But happy Pancake Day to you all so far. This little otter is definitely looking forward to it. So when he gets his chef's hat and he's about to tuck into a giant stack of pancakes, I think he's going to have fun. So thank you very much for joining. Sorry it's so late, it's 9:15 now, but I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I will speak to you later. Bye.